1 minute to the show.
No. We'll announce on the page tomorrow who the random share giveaway winner is. There's no trivia tonight. Don't forget, I'll be gone Friday and Saturday. I'll be back Sunday. I'm going to A1. I got to be at Brad's, yeah. I'm picking up a bike and bringing the bike back, so I'll be gone. Saturday and most of Sunday. And Friday night, too. No, shorter to start for another half a minute or so. Don't forget, tell Jesse and Nick, we've got York coming up the weekend of the 20th. So get plenty of firewood and wine. Yeah. Okay. And get Gino. All right? Okay. I'm about to start. I love you too.
Whoa. You're live.
Let's get down to the starting line. I'll tell you a little bit more about what you're going to see on tonight's show. And the next time, we've got a real tricky little wheelie stand that Jordan came up with. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. I'll showcase a PK XR75 combination. This bike is incredible. I can't wait to show it to you. In the Here Problem segment, we've got 2 or 3 questions that have come in this week. In the What's It Worth segment, a 1974 Honda CR125 that was restored by yours truly. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abadi. Happy New Year. Thank you for tuning in to Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping me put the show together. And for you, the viewers at home, January 4th already. It's going by quick. Jordan, what do we have coming up first on the show tonight? Oh, you want to keep sharing the show. Whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, keep sharing the show. If you are on YouTube, comment Motion Pro, and we will have a random share giveaway winner. You're going to win a little measuring device. Measuring device because it's more than just a ruler. It's got all different types of conversion charts on it. It's great for measuring, very handy to have around the shop, and you will get it compliments of Motion Pro. Keep sharing the show. It'll be posted on the page tomorrow who the winner is. Our YouTube channel is growing, but we could always use your help. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. When you do, you'll get a little alert just like this. It tells you when we're live. You can catch all of our shows and interviews on YouTube. How are the pros watching the show? How are the experts watching it? They're watching it from their big screen TV while they're commenting from their phone. So be sure to watch our show from big screen TV. Great way to enjoy it. And comment from your phone. And you can do that from YouTube or you can do that from Facebook as well. Great way to enjoy the show. As always, thank you for sticking with me. All of our sponsors, Motion Pro, VINTCO, Preston Petty Products, the International Motocross Museum, Racer X, Northwest Mako CZ, and of course, Full Circle Racing. And the next time, try this segment, we're going to take a look at a little device that Jordan came up with. He came up with this personally, okay? Back in the old days, maybe your dad, probably your grandfather, maybe you, if you're old enough, had one of these little creepers in your garage. You kind of sit on, you could put tools on. If you're working on the side of your car or your truck or something low, you'd wheel around the garage on it. It's just about 18 inches high to the seat. But what Jordan has done, and he found one, was he took a jigsaw and he took some wood and he made himself a nice little wheelie cart for his vintage Mako. You could probably find these things at garage sales or probably Craigslist or online somewhere really, really inexpensively. And Jordan took it just like that, made himself a couple little stands for the sides, and that thing fits perfectly under his 74.5 Mako. Great for downpipe bikes, easy to find, and a great way to repurpose something that from the days of yore, so to speak. So that's our Next Time Try This segment, brought to us by Jordan Woodworth. Next time, try that. This week's special from VINTCO is the YZ250 IT250 and 490 and YZ490 clutch kit. Just $99.95. Comes with 6 steel plates, 7 friction plates. Comes with the clutch springs, everything you need to rebuild the clutch on your vintage Yamaha. $99.95 this week from VINTCO. Keep the ride going.
What's up, Vintage Motocross Q&A fans? My name is Bill Wheeler. I run a small dealer operation in California called Wheelhouse Garage. It's a niche dealership where I specialize in selling rare European vintage motorcycles. Joe, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show. We all appreciate the hard work you put into putting out high quality vintage motocross content every single week. About 5 months ago, I started a show on YouTube called A Bike and a Beer, where each Saturday morning I feature a rare vintage motorcycle with an appropriately paired beer. Sometimes I sell them, sometimes I borrow them from friends, but I start them up, I ride them, and I talk all about the history of the company, the history of the bike, and all the cool parts that go into the construction of each bike. It's really, really fun, and it's been growing at a good pace too. Just last week, I focused on a 1967 CZ twin pipe 250, which belonged to Don Matthews, and man, was that a hoot to ride. It was so fun. A couple weeks before that, I featured a 1964 Montesa Diablo, very early scrambles bike that was the loudest bike I have ever heard or been around. It's a 2-stroke, of course, and that one was quite fun to ride as well. I also featured its younger cousin, the Montesa Scorpion, recently too, which is a really, really early dual sport that was incredibly fun, both on-road and off-road. What else? Oh yes, of course, I did the iconic first-year version of the Husqvarna 400 Cross. That was fun to dive into the deep-rooted history of Husqvarna, and man, that one's definitely on my list to own. I borrowed that bike from my good friend Alan, but I've got to have one of those. If you've ridden one of those, I'm sure you understand. But anyway, I've done a wide range of bikes on the show. We're almost at 20 episodes, so if you want to go back and look at those, we do everything from 100-year-old British bikes to mid-century Harleys. So it's really, really fun. A lot of vintage motocross bikes scattered in there as well. So I think you guys will enjoy it. And most of all, really, really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and share what I'm doing with you. If you'd like to check out my channel, you can search at Wheelhouse Garage, or you can just search Wheelhouse Space Garage on YouTube. You can also check me out on Instagram at Wheelhouse_Garage. Thank you again. Love what you do, Joe. I'll see you soon and appreciate the opportunity. Should we start this one up? Of course we should. This is a 1957 pre-unit Triumph 650 twin. I built this bike last year for the Born Free show. Let's give it a tickle. Oh, almost.
Thank you, Bill Wheeler and Wheelhouse Garage. Tonight's Moto Showcase bike. Tonight's Moto Showcase bike is sent in to us by Joel McKelvey. Joel McKelvey in Ocala, Florida. It's a very, very unusual bike. I didn't know what it was at first. He did explain to me what it was. And it's a PK reproduction frame out of Australia. Purchased from a fellow in Florida. I, Joel, fabricated the foot peg mounts, the rear peg mount, and the pedal. Frame was modded to use an early Honda XR75 tank and seat. There are XR80 hubs on this bike and brake panels. It's a CRF 100 front forks, 81 XR 100 engine with a 120 BBR kit. I use the engine because it looks exactly like the 77-78 XR 75 engine. It's got a PK pipe from AJ at XR Mini Racer. It's got YZ80 UFO fenders and some DC plastics on it. I have completed over 190 restorations, and I consider this a mini motocrosser genre bike. And that's what Joel has said to us. A very, very interesting little bike, the PK Replica Racer. Joel, for sending us in that bike, I want to get you a cup like this, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A and Preston Petty Products. Get me your mailing address, and I'll get you out a mug just like that. Thank you, Joel. Preston Petty Products has a special going on this week. It's just $119.95. Regular price was $139.95. Now, this is an LED bulb, and let me tell you what Paul's written to us here. It's a headlight number plate assembly with an LED bulb. Yes, these have the Preston Petty logo cast into the top of it, just like the originals do. The assembly comes with a 12-volt, 35-watt LED bulb, 1,200 lumens, custom voltage regulator. These were tested on not only 12-volt bikes, but on 6-volt bikes as well, and Paul says it works absolutely fantastically. Our testing on the vintage bikes for a 6-volt system proved perfect results for added lighting. It's got a flood beam angle of about 30 degrees. It is waterproof. It comes with a lifetime 30,000 hour warranty. Lifetime and 30,000 hours. Oh, that's a lot of hours. It's a lifetime for somebody, that's for sure. Anyway, this is special this week at Preston Petty Products, just $119.95, $20 off list. Thank you, Paul Stannard. And here's the problem segment tonight. We take a look at some of the questions that you've sent in over the past few weeks. Let's see what we got up first. Steve Welton, the price difference is staggering between U.S. made and Chinese bearings. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I look at it this way. There is, of course, a big influx of Chinese products that are in the American market right now. You see a lot of that at places like Harbor Freight and some other places as well. Is the quality there? I think the quality is not there on some things, especially bearings. And in the next picture, well, let me say this. The best country to buy your bearings from in no particular order are America, Germany, Sweden, and Belgium, they say. American, German, Sweden, and Belgium. Best places to buy bearings. Now, I would say that if you're going to use bearings made in China, which I don't really recommend, but you want to put them in your wheels, for your wheel bearings or maybe a steering stem, I mean, that would be okay. But if you're going to do something with an engine, I would not use anything from China. I would make sure I got the best bearings as possible. And I know there can sometimes be a 50, 60% increase in the cost, but it is not worth the savings if you're going to do anything internally on your engine with Chinese bearings. Outside the bike, a place where you could change it, yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned with that. Inside the engine, make sure you go for the best. Buy once, cry once. No matter where you get your bearings, one of the most important things to remember is proper lubrication. Grease comes in viscosities just like oil does. We've talked about this before. In simple terms, it can come like a tomato paste. It can come like a peanut butter. It can come like margarine, okay? For on your heavier applications, let's say a motorcycle trailer, you want a grease that's a little heavier. Let's think about peanut butter for a second. It's going to get hotter. There's more weight on there. The grease is going to melt, and it's going to lubricate the bearing a whole lot better. However, on your motorcycle, you may not want anything that heavy. You want to make sure as that bearing warms up, the grease is going to liquefy just enough to lubricate the bearing, but it's not going to stay so thick that it's not going to get around. So buy a better bearing for anything in your engine. You can use Chinese stuff, I guess, on the outside of the engine, although I don't recommend it. The most important thing, whether the bearing comes from China, Belgium, Sweden, or America, make sure you use the right bearing grease for that application. Thank you for the question. Brian Wembley, on one of your Honda Rescue, holding the ignition wire on the ignition cover. What's that little clippy I didn't use the word thingamajoopy. Jordan put that in there. I said thingamajiggy. He's changing the script on me. Anyway, what is that little clippy thing called? Here's a picture of it. It is called a flagpole clip. Okay, and there's a really, really good picture of how it works on the bike. That's the bike that it was on where Brian saw the picture. So it is called a flagpole clip, and they are available. You can search on Google and you'll find them. They come in different shapes. They come a little bit smaller, like for an application like this. If you've got some heavier wires, maybe you're working on your truck or on your trailer, something like that, you can get them. You can get them in a bigger size too. Jordan tells me he bought some, screwed him in on the front of his house, and he hangs his Christmas lights from it. I am not kidding you. He did that. Hang them up there once. That's it. End of story. Flagpole clip. That's what it's called. Motion Pro. Very, very big news here going on at Motion Pro. It's a special only for viewers, Vintage Motocross Q&A. 20% across the board on everything. Everything that Motion Pro has in their catalog is available to you, the Vintage Motocross Q&A viewer, at 20% off. Small catch, there is a code. You have to put the code in when you go to check out. There will be a code change every week. This week's code is MP, as in Motion Pro, 2497. MP, 2497. Get over to Motion Pro, buy all the things you want to buy, and save 20% across the board. Yeah, they do have some great little items like this. You've got your rim shields. You've got some slack set tools, but don't forget, they've got bearing pullers. They've got some other tools that can run several $100s, and you will get 20% off because you're a Vintage Motocross Q&A viewer. Be sure to use the code this week, MP2497. Next week's show, new code. Any problems at all, get a hold of me. I'll make sure you get your 20% off. Thank you, Chris Carter, Eric Clay, everybody at Motion Pro for being a sponsor of our show for over 2 years now.
I'm Heikki Mikkola. We will be right back.
That was perfect, Heikki.
Hi, I'm Sean Gager. We're here with Altus Motorsports. I'm Kevin Almeida's mechanic, bike number 16. We wanted to kind of show off the Motion Pro wrenches and all kinds of different tools that Motion Pro makes. You know, getting the job done, saving time is crucial, especially, you know, qualifying, for trying to do a clutch change or anything like that. These speed wrenches are absolutely great to have. They make our lives absolutely way easier. Every single mechanic on the crew has many, many things in their toolbox, and we are very, very happy to have them on board.
Keep sharing the show. We'll be giving away this beautiful measuring device compliments of Motion Pro a little bit later. Actually, it won't be later on in the show today. It will be on our Vintage Motocross Q&A Facebook page tomorrow. What's it worth? Got a 1974 Honda CR125 that I personally restored. This bike was restored from the crank to the tank, as I like to say. It has new spokes. The original rims were polished and re-anodized. The frame was stripped down bare. It was, of course, paint. The paint on the gas tank and the side panels was done by Brian Fettigan. We rebuilt the engine top to bottom. The fenders are original. The side panels are original. We did our beautiful vapor blasting job on all the parts before either polishing them or putting a nice brushed finish on them. Of course, the vapor blasting job was done by Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. As you can see there, a new piston was put into the bike. Every bearing in the engine was replaced, resealed. I sold this bike to a customer of mine who bought a motorcycle, actually had a motorcycle restored from me last year, 1974 CR250. When he came to pick that bike up, he saw the CR125 and said, if you ever want to sell it, call me first. I called him first and he bought the bike. This just happened in the past week. In fact, the bike is still sitting here, hasn't been picked up yet. About 100 hours in labor, $4,000 in parts and outside services. What do you think this bike sold for? $10,000. $12,500. How much? Jordan, how much did the bike sell for? $11,500. $11,500. A Joe Abadi restoration. And the bike, there it was. It had the pickle silencer, the original pipe on it too, the correct kickstand. The correct kick starter, the right shocks, and just an overall really, really beautiful bike. I did give the guy a little bit of a break because he was a customer of mine. I think the bike could have sold for a little bit more money on the open market, but the quality was there. $11,500. Full Circle Racing still has a great special going on. They'll powder coat your hubs, both front and back, for just $50 a hub. For $10 more, they'll do the backing plate as well. This is for gloss or satin finish. Get a hold of Tom McAllister. They also have a wonderful special going on for the CZ backing plate, just $179. If you don't want that CZ logo in there, just $169. Don't forget Tom McAllister and Full Circle Racing for all that you need for your wheels, for adventure bikes, on-road, off-road, vintage bikes, modern bikes. Tom McAllister's got it all. Thank you, Tom McAllister. Did you know? I found something out this week that I did not know, and I found out about it by reading a little column in Motocross Action. So the bits and pieces of this segment are courtesy of, I don't know if it's courtesy because I just took them. So they are courtesy of the Motocross Action magazine. To read the whole article, you can go over to Vintage Motocross Q&A on Facebook and find out more about it. There was a rule change in 1996 that would really change things, and it would never be the same again. The rule was to help promote four-stroke motorcycles get into the supercross scene. And there was an AMA rule change in their book that allowed hand-built, full-on works bikes, which had ended in 1986. But they changed the rule to have full-on works bikes in 1996 with two exceptions to that rule. It allowed manufacturers to do anything they wanted, but you could only run the bike for 1 year, and it had to be a four-stroke. Now, many people think that Yamaha would have been the first one out there to use that exemption rule, and they did lobby for it very heavily, but they never really used the exemption rule. They didn't come on with that until afterwards. So if you're wondering who the first company was to use the exemption rule, it was KTM, and it was Lance Smale. He was the first four-stroke rider to make a main event in a supercross, and that happened on March 8th in 1997 at the Daytona Supercross. Lance qualified in the last chance qualifier on that bike. He was the first one to qualify in a professional supercross. It wasn't until May 17th, actually, where Doug Henry became the first four-stroke racer to win an AMA National on a four-stroke bike. So, for the record, KTM was the first to use the exemption rule, and they were the first to qualify with a four-stroke back in 1997, I guess it was, 1997. I didn't know that. Did you? I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know about an exemption rule. I was real familiar with the works bikes ending in 1985 going into the 86 season, but I didn't know anything about a four-stroke exemption rule. Well, now we know. You know where you find a lot of information about stuff like that? In the new book from David Dewhurst entitled Motocross, the Golden Era. David was my guest last week on the show, did a great interview with him, and we gave away a book to Mike Buckley, who actually picked up this book today. I should have gotten a picture with Mike here earlier this afternoon. Anyway, Mike Buckley was the winner, and he happened to be local, came to pick up the book. Get this book if you want to learn more about four-stroke exemption rules and the golden era of motocross. David Dewhurst, fabulous book. 8 pounds of motocross history, and 99% of the pictures in there are David Dewhurst. Thank you, David, for being my guest last week, and for the generous gift that you gave one of our viewers here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We're going to take a commercial break, thank God, because I'm tired of talking. When we get back, we'll have more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
VINTCO, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with VINTCO rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The VINTCO air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit VINTCO.com to check out the air shocks and all that VINTCO has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X Magazine. Be sure to get a copy at your newsstand now or get it online. See our ad in the back of every issue of Racer X Magazine. 1967. What happened? Larry Brooks was born. Larry Brooks was born. He will become a SoCal minicycle prodigy, racing for the R&D Suzuki team. He will also go on to win a handful of 125 AMA Supercross races and ultimately enjoy a long career as a professional in this industry. It's what he did afterward that really, really made Larry Brooks such a standout guy when it comes to the history of motocross. He managed teams for Jeremy McGrath, James Stewart, and Chad Reed, and that's where he really, really makes his mark and continues to make his mark in the motocross industry. A belated happy birthday, Larry Brooks. 1979, Can-Am. 4 years after winning the 1975 AMA Supercross Championship with Jimmy Ellis, they announced in 1979 that they would be lining up a former three-time Suzuki rider on their bike. And that rider was, of course, Tony DeStefano. Tony DeStefano was also joined by Rich Eierstad, Greg Robertson, and Kippy Pierce, and an upcoming Southern California hot shoe from Simi Valley named Donnie Hansen. That's what was happening in 1979 at Can-Am. 1986, and we were just kind of talking about this stuff with the David Dewhurst book. The AMA's controversial production rule goes into effect, ending the era of works bikes in AMA, Supercross, and Motocross. The rule was brought out to curb the cost of professional racing and to make a bit more parity between the manufacturers. Kawasaki's Jeff Ward was the defending AMA Supercross champion, but the 1986 season belonged to Team Honda. And why wouldn't it be? They had Ricky Johnson, David Bailey, Johnny O'Mara, and Mickey Diamond. 37 years later, the production rule is still in effect, and I still don't like it until this day. The production rule, you can read all about it, as I said, in David Dewhurst's book, Motocross, The Golden Era, but it was, to me, the golden era of motocross. Works bikes were the most amazing thing. Fantastic bikes, the ingenuity, and the things that went into them made it really, really very special. Which I think brings me up to the, I don't know if we're doing the International Motocross Museum. Well, I guess that's in the announcements, so I don't want to. Here they are, announcements. It's brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. Be sure to visit them online at Motocross Museum, internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Of course, they have a Facebook page and an Instagram page as well. 2 weeks, just about 2.5 weeks away, I will be in beautiful Carlisle or York, Pennsylvania for the 2023 York Swap Meet. That happens on Sunday, January 22nd. The night before, they have the Potomac Vintage Riders Banquet. Always a great time, from what I understand. Not from what I understand, but I know with utmost certainty that Martina Faltova-Cope will be there, Warren Reed, as well as Barry Higgins. I will have a display table set up. I will be selling T-shirts, long sleeve, short sleeve, and we'll be giving some special awards away this year. Vintage Motocross Q&A, special awards for people who have some things in the bike show. So be sure to get there January 22nd. It's a great time. 375 vendor spots are sold out. No more vendor spots. What we need is you, the people, to get down there with some money and buy some of those parts. Thank you, Bill Nazarod, Mike Slayton, everyone at the York Swap Meet for having me back again this year. Won't be long. It's coming up, the 50th anniversary festival for Can-Am. That's happening in Ontario, Canada. Anybody who had anything to do with Can-Am during those early years, or even today, is going to be there. We're talking about Gary Jones, Marty Tripes, so many more too. A lot of the industry people, a lot of the factory people who help design stuff are going to be there. There'll be all kinds of displays for every kind of Can-Am race bike that you can imagine from those years and all through the Can-Am career. Rotax, Bombardier, of course, supplying so many engines to so many different manufacturers of bikes. And I am the MC. I will be your MC for 4 lovely days there. That's in August in Ontario, Canada. There's going to be raffles too. They're giving away 3 restored Can-Am motorcycles, 3 of them restored. You want to be there for that. It's coming up in August. Don't forget, you got to go across the border, get your bikes there. Make sure you got a passport. Check what's going on as far as getting your bikes across the border if you're leaving the United States into Canada, eh? During the Hopetown reunion and the Preston Petty Memorial back in November, I had a chance to sit down with the guy I've kind of become friendly with in the past several years, Barry Weiss. You know Barry Weiss, of course, from Storage Wars. And there's a nice little shot of Barry Weiss and Donnie Hansen and myself. Barry has agreed to give me an interview. So we will have Barry Weiss on Vintage Motocross Q&A for an interview in the very, very near future. In fact, I'm going to be seeing him Saturday. I'll see him down at Anaheim 1. I'm going down there, Anaheim 1, for the opener of the Supercross. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Legends and Heroes and all my friends down there in Southern California. But stay tuned to find out when Barry Weiss from Storage Wars will be on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I've also started something else to get you guys involved a little bit more in the Supercross scene. I happen to like Supercross. I know there's a lot of vintage motocross guys out there who don't particularly care for Supercross. I love it. I think it's a great way to get through the winter, no matter where you are. And I've started a little fantasy league on RM Fantasy Supercross. So you need to go on rmfantasysx.com, look for the group. It's called VMXQ&A. You may need a password to join the group. It's Elsinore Tank. Elsinore Tank is the password. If there's any problem, contact me. I'll take care of it for you. But right now, I think it's Elsinore Tank. Could be Elsinore Tank 1974. I don't think so. It's hard for me to remember passwords. I can remember what happened in motocross 50 years ago, but I can't remember the password I created yesterday for this group. Get over there and check it out. Join the group. We're going to be giving away some prizes, too. So, you figure out who wins every week. There's a wild card. Whoever gets the most points, we're going to give it away a real nice gift at the end of the Supercross season. I'm thinking about combining like VINTCO, Motion Pro, Preston Petty products. Get a bunch of things together and really give somebody a lot of bang for their buck. Finish Line is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. Thank you, Alan Brown. It's good to have you back in motion with us here, Alan Brown. Get a hold of Alan Brown at northwestmakocz.com. They've got a great special going on this week, the single row Mako chain. Single row, 54 links, just $29. Get a hold of Northwest Mako CZ. I'll be seeing Alan Brown. In fact, I might be going down there with my camera when I go to the York swap meet. Alan Brown told me that he's only about a half hour away from York. I may get down there, meet up with Alan Brown, and see just what's cooking over there at Northwest Mako CZ. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts are still available. Also, the hoodies are still available. $19.99 in gray or white. Has the logo across the front. Has my signature across the back. Perfect time to get a hoodie as well for just a couple of bucks more. Follow the link in the show description. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still going strong. Still going strong. And they have been for almost 3 years with many of our sponsors like Motion Pro, Preston Petty, VINTCO, and Full Circle's been out there a long time too, and so many more. So if you want to get on board, I've got a special going on right now at an incredibly low 1 month only rate. It's a great time for you to get on board, become a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Try it for a month, 1 month. I guarantee it works. It'll work, guaranteed. Get a hold of me. I'll send you a sponsorship proposal package, and we'll get you on board. You can be seeing the same results as everybody else on the board behind me. And let's see if Gino has a new outlook on the new year. Gino! I want to thank you for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't forget, get ready for the Can-Am reunion. Come and see me at the York swap meet. Come and see me at Anaheim 1 on Saturday. I'll be with the Legend Heroes. Talk to you now. There he is, Gino. You're excited. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Rocco's here too, but he's a little... Not Gino, though. He's ready to go.